I don't ever recall saying, I slept like a baby, or I woke up feeling so rested. Most nights, it's more like finally dozing off into some weird half-sleep state.
That is, until recently.
So, what has changed? It's 3 a.m. and you've been in bed for 5 hours trying to fall asleep, staring at the ceiling, thoughts racing, to-do list after to-do list. The anxiety of knowing you only have 4 hours left to sleep, and then this thought hits you hard. We spend a third of our life sleeping, and that time directly impacts everything else. Clearly, I'm failing at life.
So I did what any sleep-deprived person would do, meaning I embarked on a quest for a perfect night's sleep. Buckle up, my friend, because I'm taking you with me. I will share with you everything that I learned in the process of mastering the elusive art of sleep, backed up by science but filtered through the perspective of somebody who's not naturally a good sleeper. This video is of course a playbook, not a rulebook, so pick and choose whatever fits you, your lifestyle, your needs. And a tiny word of caution, this routine is not only a little extra, it's extra.
Mathew Walker says that if you have a very aggressive alarm in the morning, it could spike up your cortisol levels, so we don't want that, so pick a gentle alarm if you can. So, what time should you set your alarm? It's a bit of a trick question. They say that on average you should aim to have more than 7 hours of sleep. Most studies say that if you have less than that regularly, it could be detrimental to your health. Try not to get too fixated on when you go to bed or how long you sleep. If you struggled with sleep, like I used to, it's very likely that sleeping became something stressful. So it's important to work with your brain to try and make it into something positive, and if not positive, then at least neutral. One thing that does help me though is trying to be consistent with when I go to bed and when I wake up. So for instance, I try not to treat weekends differently. If you are consistent, your brain knows when to start producing the sleeping hormones and it's easier to go to bed. The best thing to do after you wake up is to see the sun. Well, we're in the UK, so use your imagination. As we already know from Huberman, seeing the sun first thing in the morning within the first 90 minutes is the best thing you can do for your sleeping pattern. When your brain sees the sun, it knows that it should be awake. A lot of us live in countries where we have to either wake up before the sun rises or the sun is not a very frequently occurring natural phenomenon. So use artificial light because it helps as well, and then later on in the day when the sun is out, try to be outside and face the sun. If you are in the habit of drinking coffee first thing in the morning, I'm afraid I don't have good news. Most studies say that we should wait at least 90 minutes for adenosine to clear out of our system. And also having coffee first thing in the morning could spike our anxiety and could lead to midday energy crash, so we don't want that. Also, we would want to train our body to wake up naturally without any artificial substances. So I'm trying to just get used to drinking water. We already know we can't have caffeine for 90 minutes after waking up. What about the rest of the day? It took me quite a long time to figure this out. Every caffeinated drink, so coffee, tea, fizzy drinks, has a specific amount of caffeine that takes a specific amount of time to metabolize. And how fast you metabolize it depends on the speed of your metabolism and your body measurements. For most people, it's enough to avoid drinking caffeinated drinks for 90 minutes after waking up and after 3 p.m. But because I'm small and my metabolism is slow and I have trouble sleeping, I need to stop drinking caffeinated drinks at 1 p.m. sharp. And I only know it because I tried and tested a lot, so if you are sensitive with sleep, you can do the same. Okay, now it will be about measurement. Most people who want to get serious about their sleep want to get some sort of sleep tracker. I don't think it's indispensable because I think that listening to your body's signals and understanding them is way more important. But if you really want to get scientific about your sleep and know all the details, this is a really good way. I'm using an ultra-human ring. This video wasn't sponsored by them, but the ring was gifted to me. And what I learned, for instance, was that my heart rate drops very late into the night. When your heart rate is at its lowest, it means that your sleep is most restorative and at its deepest. And for me, that was around 6 a.m., so 1 hour before I was about to wake up. And the reason for that was because I ate too late and because my body temperature was way too high. And I learned that only because I looked at the data. I've actually been looking for a sleep tracker for quite a long time. And the reason why I like this particular one is because you don't need to pay any monthly subscription. It's a one-off cost and that's it. I think we all have this subscription fatigue. Have to pay so many subscriptions already. Another thing that I quite like is, I've already mentioned this caffeine tracking thing, and this also really helps me with that because it reminds me when I should stop drinking anything caffeinated. So that's quite helpful. The ring also tracks menstrual cycle and how it influences sleep. And because of that, I learned that in the second part of menstrual cycle, especially the days leading up to the period, the rising progesterone hormones could lead to sleep disturbances. It was very useful to know, and I was also happy to have something else than myself to blame for my bad sleep quality. Okay, let's get some work done. Since I can remember, I really struggle with disconnecting after work, with switching off the working mode, problem-solving mode, overanalyzing, stressing mode, and going into relaxation mode. I feel like it really influences the quality of my rest after work and the quality of my sleep. One thing that does help a bit is trying to have a reset wind-down ritual after work. What I try to do is I shut down the laptop, I step away from my desk, I take 3 deep breaths for my brain just to note that this part of my day, no matter how traumatizing, is over for now. And the emails will still be here tomorrow for me to answer. If I don't answer them right now, the world will not end. And then I try to do something nice and relaxing. I lit a candle. Whether I've been working at home or just came from the office, I take a shower, I change my clothes to almost feel like a different person. If you have any tips on how to disconnect after work, please let me know because I still feel like this is something I could improve. Carrying on with the theme of winding down, the closer it gets to my bedtime, the more I try to avoid things that are stimulating. I like this overall rule of keeping mornings for focus, afternoons for growth, and evenings for reflection. So in the evenings, I avoid cold showers and high-intensity trainings. If I do really want to do a high-intensity training, I would do it maximum at 6 p.m. so that I have enough time to wind down. Otherwise, I really stick to things such as yoga, Pilates, stretching, or walking. For dinner, I will try to have something that will help me have better sleep, and if it won't help me, at least it won't disturb it. It's great to get some foods rich in tryptophan. It sounds like the name of a drug to me, but it's an amino acid that the body converts into melatonin, a hormone that helps regulate sleep. You can find it in foods such as turkey, chicken, fish, eggs, nuts, and seeds. Great news! Carbs will also help us increase the absorption of tryptophan, and they will decrease cortisol in the body, which is why sometimes we call them comfort foods. But overall, avoid high-carb diet, meaning 70% of calorie intake coming from carbs, because that will decrease deep sleep in the long term. Some foods also contain melatonin directly, like cherries, kiwis, fatty fish like salmon, and almonds. Things that I regularly eat for dinner are turkey sandwich with whole wheat bread, or rice and salmon, pasta with pesto and some cheese, or just oatmeal and berries. It would be best to eat at least 3 hours before going to bed, because eating later will increase body temperature and will disrupt sleep, as it was the case for me. But I have to say, I still sometimes fail to stick to this rule. What are you waiting for? Dig in. Okay, let's talk supplements. I take apigenin, ashwagandha, and magnesium. Magnesium is by far the most important one for me. It relaxes muscles, it decreases cortisol levels, and it aids sleep quality. I'm so obsessed with magnesium that I not only take the supplement, but I also have magnesium oil body spray and magnesium bath salts that I use like once per month. One important thing to note about supplements though, is something that Andrew Huberman talks about quite extensively, and it's that supplements only work while you take them, whereas any behavioral change will change your nervous system and will create lasting change. So let's say if you start doing sun exposure after you wake up, that will help you sleep better in the long term. And if you take magnesium or ashwagandha, that will only help you while you take it. So supplements can never replace good habits. 3 hours before bedtime, it's time to start paying attention to the light. So I start avoiding screens, I wear blue light filtering glasses, and I pay attention to artificial light. Artificial light tricks our brain into thinking that it's day and suppresses melatonin production. Especially be very careful with overhead lights because again, they're like sun being in the zenith, which would indicate that it's midday. This would be way better because again, it mirrors the sun being low on the horizon, which would indicate that the day is coming to an end, which is way better for our brain. 2 hours before I go to bed, I make sure my phone is on silent so I'm not distracted or disturbed. And also I've read that a warm shower or bath 1 to 2 hours before bedtime is scientifically proven to help us sleep better. So I'm going to go and do that as my final thing before I go to bed.
We're 1 hour to bedtime, so I'm airing the room because the cooler environment ensures better quality sleep and will have greater oxygen saturation, which is also very good for health. I'm also drawing the curtains, and these are blackout curtains, meaning that I won't have any light pollution at night. Before I jump into the bed, I will either use the essential oils vaporizer or the pillow spray. I think it makes me associate certain smells with going to sleep, which makes me sleepy. And it's also very helpful when I travel because I feel at home and more comfortable. I also have a list of things that I can do before I go to sleep. And I will never do all of the things on the list, but I will always do at least one. So I can either read, or I will listen to a meditation on an app, or I will do my favorite thing ever, which is crossword puzzles. I think these are quite an old concept in Poland. I don't know if anybody still does them, but if you do, I love you. My brain tends to be very hyperactive as soon as I go to bed, so this helps me tie it up, channel my thoughts somewhere, and really helps me fall asleep. Works like magic. Even though I sleep way better these days, I will still have those nights when I just know that I will struggle to fall asleep. And I'm working super hard to shift my mindset from, oh my God, I'm going to be so exhausted tomorrow, I will die from lack of sleep, to this is fine, it will be better tomorrow, I'll just do my best. And one thing that happens is that I manage my stress and anxiety during the day by being super busy. So when I go to sleep, my thoughts start arriving, circling around and keeping me super hyperactive. So what I do then is I go to the living room, I take a pen and a piece of paper and I write down my thoughts. This literally forces me to slow down my thinking process because I write slower than I think. And also it gives a physical manifestation to all my worries, which kind of helps me calm down and process my emotions. If that doesn't work, I do something called non-sleep deep rest. You can find that on YouTube. It's meditation/yoga nidra, and it just really gives you the best chance at resting without sleeping. So you just listen along, you try to relax. 2 other things that I think are also very helpful with sleeping problems in the long term are CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, and acupuncture. Most sleeping routines would end here, but we go a little extra, so let me tell you about my sleeping logistics. I have a memory foam pillow that I really, really like, and 2 more sleeping hacks. One leg stays under the covers as you sleep. The other one is outside for natural thermoregulation. It's called damp heating. It's a scientific thing. Andrew Huberman talks about it. Look it up. This leg stays warm and cozy, and this one can release all the heat that your body does not need throughout the night. But if you sleep on your side in the embryo position, take a pillow and put it between your knees. It will make it so much more comfortable. And that's about it, I believe. I'm sorry it was so long. I don't want to keep you up. As always, I'll make a summary table that I'll put on the screen so that you can have it whenever you need it. I think most importantly, try not to stress. Don't put pressure on yourself. Try to make it as nice as possible and have a good night.